What's up, world? It's your boy Ty. As you listen to the CD, I'm gonna pay homage to all the men and women that came before me.
Ladies and gentlemen, welcome to another episode of the Comic Book Hit List. We have a great show for you today. Today we have Mr. N. Stephen Harris. I'm hoping that a lot of you already know who this gentleman is.
However, so too.
If you do not, we all know one of the reasons for the show is to brighten your horizons about collectors and creators and people who have just been changing our industry for the best. So before we get started, we're going to talk about a big thing I know some of you have already been paying attention to. Bam! Woo! I am so excited. My children's book, Daddy Do Right, is out with my boy Chris Marinan and my homeboy Willie Corday Jr. It is out everywhere books are sold. Please pick up yourself a copy. This will be a great Father's Day gift. And on top of that, there will be a book signing at Barnes & Noble, at Second and Charles, and a few other places. And I will keep you guys abreast. Thank those people I just named, Chris Marinan, Willie Corday Jr. Also want to thank Dan Schifrin, Abby Friedman for editing, my homeboy Marcus Ford, my wife who did the last proofreading, Miss Beautiful Brooke. I want to thank all those people for helping me because this has been a very long process. So make sure you pick up yourself a copy of Daddy Do Right. It is at Ex Libris, Barnes & Noble, Second and Charles, and every place comic books, I shouldn't say comic books, my bad, every place children's books are sold. So please make sure you get yourself a copy of that. That's been a very long process, a few years in the making. And I have more books coming, and I have some comic books coming. So you guys definitely keep your ear to the ground when it comes to your boy Cool Ty. Now let's move on to Mr. N. Stephen Harrison. Man, I have to tell you, one of my first times seeing your work was on, I think it was Aztec, if I remember correctly.
Okay.
From there, you got me on a search. I started reading, tried finding some of your older stuff, newer stuff, some of your image stuff. So we're going to get into all that. So ladies and gentlemen, please help me welcome Mr. N. Stephen Harris to the show. How you doing, sir?
I'm doing great.
Good. How is everything going on up there in New York?
Things are fine so far. So far, so good.
Good. I know I'm sorry, I got a little puppy here. This is my little foster puppy. You can't see it, but she's right there.
Aww.
She's always loving being in the mix when she hears me talking. Sit, baby. She's a foster puppy through Four Paws. So we foster them, love on them, get them to their vet visits, and then they move on to their forever home. So let's talk about it. Let's give everybody an introduction of who Mr. N. Stephen Harris is, how you got started, and then we'll move on from there.
Oh, okay. Well, I'm a Jersey-born brother. From suburbs of New Jersey. I moved to New York my third year in college. I moved to Harlem. Went to School of Visual Arts. I learned there and I learned about comics a little bit in there from my upperclassmen, but I learned more about comics outside of School of Visual Arts through Michael Davis and Dennis Cowan that would later be the founders of Milestone Media.
Yes.
I first met Michael Davis and Dennis Cowan. I first met Michael Davis at the Children's Art Carnival, which was a nonprofit arts organization that had free art classes, and Michael Davis taught a comic book class there. And there I met Dennis Cowan because he came to visit one time. He's Michael's best friend. I later became Dennis Cowan's assistant for a year or two.
Okay.
Before Milestone started, and then I branched out. Also in that school was Sean Martinborough.
Yes.
I don't know if you know Walter McDaniels. He did some issues of Deadpool, Punisher in the 90s, some other stuff. He's now in Hong Kong doing animation. The late John Paul Leon was a classmate and student of Michael Davis.
Okay.
A classmate of mine, student Michael Davis. Adam Polina, who was an X-Force artist.
Yeah, big time X-Force artist.
Yeah.
Long run on X-Force.
Mm-hmm. So a lot of people came out of that class. A lot of popular people who were great artists that came out of that class. And I'm fortunate to have been one of them.
Oh, that's good, man. Yeah, listen, you just gave a list of the next group of upcoming legends, people who have been around for ages and have a huge, wide berth of work in the comic book industry.
Yeah,
So
yeah.
that's pretty cool, man. So I think one of the things that I'm learning is how long you've actually been around. Like even before that inception of Milestone Comics, you were already in the mix with some of those people as they were going through it. Were there ideas and conversations and meetings around starting something like that, or was it had that particular thing not started yet?
Oh, a milestone.
Yeah.
That was the brainchild of Dennis Cowan. Actually, a lot of people think Dwayne McDuffie's the creator, but Dennis Cowan was the brainchild of that,
Mm-hmm.
and he brought in him and Mike brought in Dwayne McDuffie,
Yeah.
Derek Dingle from Black Enterprise, and also a man named Jim Owsley, also known as Christopher Priest, was part of that.
Yeah, that's right. I didn't know that's his writer's name.
Yeah, he was there for a brief moment, but he had stepped away for I don't know for what reasons. But they were all. I mean, I was in Dennis' Studio X Unlimited over on 24th Street, Manhattan.
Mm-hmm.
I think by Park Avenue South or Lexington Avenue. And then he moved his studio onto the west side. That was on 23rd Street, and that was near a few blocks near the Milestone offices, on 23rd Street by 6th Avenue. So
Okay.
yeah, 6th Avenue.
Well, that's a lot of really good history.
Yeah.
So if let's stay with that early on history, what was some of your early on creations or creator owned independent work that you started out with?
Oh, I started my creator own journey began almost 10 years after my career started.
Okay.
So my career started. Okay, first of all, let me tell you how I was always into drawing. I
Gotcha.
tell people all the time. I started out. My inspiration was Star Wars and Japanese anime. And
Mm-hmm.
anime was my first cartoon. That's my first anime I watched was Marine Boy, Speed Racer, and Star Blazer. Star Blazer became my favorite.
Okay.
They amazed me because that's like I think Star Blazer was the first one with an actual serial storyline, and that got me like really was my start into liking the sequential narrative.
Gotcha.
Uh, and so I was always drawing pictures with spaceships, space battles. They also Star Wars and Star Blazer also had me fall in love with space, like the space opera.
Mm-hmm.
And so I was always drawing these big space battle scenes, and then I had the desire to start telling the story with my art. But if I want to tell a story, I need to learn how to draw the human figure. I felt, and so um, for me to learn how to draw a figure, I felt I would need to start reading comic books and paying attention to the artists who were drawing the comic books. So I was collecting comic books. I was collecting Star Wars comics. I was collecting Battlestar Galactica comics. Shogun Warriors. This is like in the late '70s
Mm-hmm.
into 1980. And then I moved away from comics. I moved away from comics a little bit, and then when I got back into comics, it was I was going into high school, and I started collecting titles like X-Men, Avengers, or the X titles, X-Men New Mutants. At the time it was X-Men and New Mutants.
Mm-hmm.
And then I branched out to other titles like Avengers, Fantastic Four, Spider-Man, Daredevil, Thor, all that. And I started paying attention to the artists. And I branched out into DC Comics. I learned about an artist named Garcia Lopez.
Oh yeah.
Before that, but my first real big influence was Arthur Adams,
Yeah.
John Romita Jr., Paul Smith,
Yeah.
John Byrne, Barry Winchester later on.
All great legends.
Yeah, then my primary influence when I made the decision I wanted to really become a comic book artist became Garcia Lopez,
Yeah.
and Barry Windsor Smith, and then
Yeah.
later on Larry Stroman,
Yeah.
and of course,
Garcia Lopez's art still blazes to this day. Like he has not missed one single step.
and then no, I got caught. No, like anyone, Rick Leonardi was a favorite of mine. But then the pop artists, I should say pop, but the flash artists started coming in the mid '90s, right?
Yeah.
Uh, and And one time I held a side by side to the top artist at the time to Garcia Lopez. I said, yo, this is, he's flashy. He's still the flashy artist. Could draw. I'm not gonna mention his name. Could draw a very very solid drawing and had a very solid progression. I said, this is something about Garcia Lopez. This is so solid.
Yeah.
His compositions, when his characters stand in space or an environment, they're in an environment. They're like, just as you're in a room, you're in a room.
Right.
Just when Garcia Lopez draws that person in the room, they're in the room.
Yeah, I saw Garcia Lopez. I saw Garcia Lopez draw something at Baltimore Comic Con, a sketch for someone, and it was as if he's still drawing professionally for the companies. I mean, it was not only was it effortless, but it was just beautiful.
Yeah,
yeah,
yeah. So I've had an opportunity of meeting him a few times, and he actually knows my name and he recognized me. So that's like a big
it's
ego
a big boost up, man. Yeah, I feel you.
So he's a big influence, and I went no no I went my high school actually bragged about being a high school with the most amount of art classes for a public school on the East Coast. I went to a school in Jersey called it was Scotch Plains Fanwood High School.
Say what's the name again?
Scotch Plains Fanwood High School. It was like two towns in one.
Okay.
And they had drawing one, drawing two, painting one, painting two, lettering, photography, airbrush, and advertising art. And
that really was a big deal. Like,
yeah, and
you literally are leaving high school with the skills you need to go right into work.
Almost, because almost, because I say this because I had that. I took all those classes. I started off with they got me. I didn't do drawing one and painting one. I started off with painting, drawing two, and painting two. I did airbrush. I wanted to do advertising art, but they didn't offer advertising art my senior year. But they offered it again after I graduated. So oh well. But so yeah, I had that. I had a summer where I was in an art department at AT&T, where I learned airbrush and drawing with a brush. So I thought, I'm going to college with a leg up. Nah, I came in just on time, barely on time.
Really?
I'm going against kids that came from, they were the number one artists in their class. I was like the top three, and all our names were Steve as well. I was the comic book artist. There was another one was a graffiti artist, and one was a fine artist.
Wow.
And but so I'm in there. I'm at the School of Visual Arts, and I'm coming with kids who came from art and design, LaGuardia, who had 4 years of art concentration. LaGuardia, other kids from around the country and around the tri-state area who were number one kids in the art. So I'm like mad intimidated.
Right.
With these kids, and there's the upperclassmen who was like drawing classical figures out of their head and just lounging in the lounge, just doing this, drawing these beautiful women in figures, like reclining like this and drawing these perfect breasts and drapery.
Right.
I gotta set my game up.
Right.
Yeah, so it was pressure, man.
Yeah.
And so it was pressure. It was like I had to really focus in on those figure drawing classes, composition classes. Because not just drawing, it's composing an image, and then comics as the extra element of storytelling. So you gotta do it. You gotta draw a narrative, a sequence, and have the person that you're showing this to, or the viewer, know what you're putting down.
Right.
And read what you're putting down without having to explain what's going down. Of course, words will help.
Right.
Details, but they have to know if I'm doing a fight scene, if I'm doing a conversation, what kind of conversation is this? Is this a happy conversation? This is
good point.
An intellectual conversation? Is this a argument? Is someone upset? Is someone sad? Is someone about to break down? All that stuff you gotta bring into the element of storytelling.
Yeah. So people should be able to look at just and I like it when every so often they'll print a book with no words, and it's just the art telling the story. I totally get it.
And that leads my other thing. Yeah,
That's the
that,
reason why you ended up in college, because you had to have that amount of intimidation to move to the next level, because so
yeah,
many people were already doing like that. It sounded like to me, and you can correct me, it sounded like this was the thing that put you over the top, that tell you you got to do more.
yeah, oh yeah, oh yeah. And that thing about silent. I mean, I liken these two guys at my school to the GI Joe comic. Remember Silent Interlude with the
I do remember the comic. Yeah.
that was by, oh gosh. He's like the writer of GI Joe for Marvel. Larry
Larry
Hama.
Hammer. Hammer.
Yeah, I worked with him too on Michael Craig, because he did some breakdowns. So I did some finished work over his stuff a few years ago.
Yeah.
But he did the silent. But he's always right. He always wrote GI Joe, but he actually drew the silent interlude of GI Joe, where with no words, and there was the hard master and soft master.
Right.
And I had these two upperclassmen at school of large. One was name was Edgar. I called him the soft master. And then there was Rashid. I called the hard master. Now I will always go to them for critique my work. Now I will get bashed apart.
Yeah.
But Edgar, he would funny guy, funny and mad talented. Both mad talented. But Edgar can just like draw characters on top of his head and know all the parts of the figure. While he's drawing the figure, he's like naming the body parts and muscles and the bones and whatnot.
Wow.
So he's like, he'll look at my work and say, okay, wow, it's nice, nice. And then he'll like look at it further and give me a critique, right? A pleasant critique. And he made a little bit of hard here and there. But
right.
she will just look at it and say, just right here. I mean, it's arm, man. It's like you gotta work on his arm here. This foot right. This foot's busted.
Right.
Go in. And then those two guys made me a better artist.
Yeah.
And these were upperclassmen. These weren't even teachers.
Right. Yeah, you mentioned the word pop artist at a time, man. Wouldn't they be considered pop artists? Those people that transcended just the comic book world and expanded it to the general audience, which is what we have now, right? So would they be considered pop artists in the comic book industry?
Who's that? Pop?
When you mentioned the word, you said that those guys that you named were pop artists, right? And you were alluding to the fact that they weren't just for the comic book industry. They were for the masses, technically, right? So right now we have artists who are for the masses. They're not just recognized as comic book artists, they're recognized as pop artists. So would that be a legitimate name? And would that be a legitimate name for them, pop comic book artists? But also, wasn't it kind of a necessity for that to actually happen, to move comics to the next level?
Yeah, I mean, comics kind of maybe force his way to the next level with the movies and the intellectual as an intellectual property, because comics is so much. People have underestimated comic for a long time, and then the movies happen,
right?
And people are understanding. Well, comics is something. It's really something. Comics are research and developed all in one for a movie.
Yeah, exactly.
You have the landscape, you have the character designs, you have the designs for any vehicles and buildings. You have a world. You have a whole world in there.
Yeah, you go from there. You even have what the fight scene should look like, almost per panel, right?
Mm-hmm. And you have the fashion, the costume design. You have all that in there.
Yeah.
Excuse me. And so, and other countries take comics more seriously. Like there's the European. I mean, I've heard over years ago they did. They may have a news report or a news segment on when such as latest book graphic novels coming out. So, I mean, comics is high art, whether people can see it or not.
Yeah, absolutely. Yeah,
it's just how the artist could approach it, how the individual approach it. You gotta look and see what's out there, because I mean, it's so labor intensive.
Man, is it? Listen, I agree with you. I lived in Japan for years, and you know what their comic industry or their manga industry is something that we strive to have here in the States, right? Because they're buying Shonen Jump and all these other things, and they're reading them, and they're just being left on the train, right? They're just being, anybody can pick them up at this point. They have stacks and stacks of them of, recycled, manga and different books that people can just grab and go as they go for it. So
Yeah.
we are definitely, I think from when I got into comics, I think it was always a push to try to get the industry to move to that particular level. But it was always looked upon as something, as a little bit of a hobby, as not even a cool hobby. But now that whole thing has changed, and
Yeah, it was
it's
really
because
difficult.
of those pop culture artists.
Yeah, it's gonna be difficult because that's part of it. I mean, it's ingrained in the culture.
Right.
In comics, there addresses every stratus of their culture,
Every single thing. Man,
every
I remember watching animation in Japan about America dropping the bomb on on Japan, and it didn't spare it. It showed the effects of what the radiation did to people, their hair, their skin, their face. It didn't miss a single step, and we just
Are the Fireflies.
yeah, I think that's exactly what it is. Yeah, I remember when I was there watching it on TV, along with Mononoke Hime. I watched Zoids, you name it, man. And it was just like, man, they didn't pull any punches at this at all.
I never saw the whole thing, but I saw the first 10, 15 minutes of it. I said, oh, this is gonna be a hard one to watch.
Yeah, it was a hard, and that's how I learned. Even when it came to sex education,
Mhm.
that's how a lot of education things happened, was through the manga, because they told
Yeah.
a manga story for every generation, for every event. There was nothing in history that had escaped it, and they were always telling great futuristic stories, of course.
Yeah, that's how I learned about the firebombing. And because I didn't know, I learned about the firebombing of Japan before the bombs were dropped.
Yeah.
I had no. I said, oh wow, this is just savage.
Yeah,
This,
man, it's savage. So let's move on to some of your creator owned stuff, some of the projects that you've worked on over the years. What was one of your first projects, independent things that you did, creator owned?
creator owned.
Yeah.
It was my own book called the Fringe.
Yep. The Fringe.
Uh-huh. The Fringe. I want to get back to that at some point. Uh, but yeah, that's my book. It is about a young woman who lives in a nation that has been. Okay, I'm entering the pitch stage now.
Mm-hmm.
That has
Man, because we want people to now go and look for those books and add them to their collection.
Yeah, The Fringe is about a woman who lives in a nation that's been colonized and occupied by a foreign power for over 30 years. She is worked for a corporation that is part of that occupying, colonizing force, but secretly she works for a revolutionary group called the Fringe. But she is found out, apprehended, brainwashed, and transformed into a living weapon to be used to seek out and destroy the Fringe Revolution and to terrorize her own people. So and it involves I think I involve like a generation. It's like I start with 30 years in. I go back and see and tell you what happened, how this happened, and how the people lived before then, and how they came to be, and what happened
Okay.
into. And I want to get to how they either overcome it, or succumb to that, or get utterly defeated by this oppressive power.
That's a good story. Was that published through your own thing, or was that published through Image?
Me. I never worked with Image directly. No,
But you
yeah,
had something published through Image, am I correct?
yeah, that was the Crush.
The Crush, there it is. So, and I
Yeah.
ended up finding The Crush maybe 8, 9 months ago, and it's something
Really?
that I had not even heard of. So I think I found maybe the whole run. I think it's 5 or 6 issues, right?
5 issues, yeah.
Yeah, I ended up finding The Crush. You're absolutely right. And how did that come about, and what was that about?
The Crush. Okay, that story is okay. That is Michael Davis. After Michael Davis left Milestone, Michael Davis has the gift of gab. He can sell anyone anything. So he went to Motown, the Motown, and talked to the people at Motown and said, I want to sell you I want to sell you animation. I want to help because I want to compete with Disney in animation. So that was Motown Animation, and the component to Motown Animation was Motown Machine Works. And Motown Machine Works was the comic book wing of it. And they had a line of books. I was just one of the line of books. There was Casual Heroes. There was Man Against Time. There was Trouble Man. There was uh, another one, and there was The Crush.
Okay.
I maybe missed a couple.
Okay.
Uh,
And that was all through Motown Machine.
yeah, and mine was one of two that completed this run because there was some like shenanigans going on that some people didn't finish their runs on that in that line. But uh I was going through a tumultuous time at that point. I was living with my parents, my girlfriend, because I had a fire at my apartment in Harlem. So I was back in Jersey for a little bit. I reached out to Michael. He would have to be available to talk. And so uh, I went in, talked to him, uh, and through some machinations or some words from the late Clarence Avant, I got hired there. Um, I should tell the story how they hired.
Yeah, let's hear that because I can tell the way you're looking at this. A good story right there.
Because okay, you can as I heard the story, okay, Mike's class started out with a bunch of Black and Latino kids, right? Boys, particularly, maybe one or two young women in the group too. And so, as the years went over, the class got lighter and lighter. And so so what ended up happening for whatever reason. I'm not saying he did it or just for whatever reason, right? Because he went through first. The school started in Harlem. He had some relations with school of large. Some other kids found out about the school about his teaching and wanted to be part of him, and so he formed Bad Boy Studios, and so it became more of a mixed group of kids in the classes, right? So by the time he gets to Motown, there's like maybe a couple of guys of color and more white kids in the class, right? Not in the class, but in the office. Gotcha. And so Clarence Avant comes there and says, Clarence Avant, and he's a classic number two guy up to the head, who's the president was Gerald Busby.
Mm-hmm.
So when I say classic number two guy, the number two man, the second in charge, is always the heavy, the one yelling at everybody, getting everybody in line. So the number one guy looks good, looks approachable, like you can talk to him, but he doesn't look bad.
Right.
So Clarence Avant comes in the room and says, "Hey, where's all the color up in here? Ain't no color in here." So I'm not there. I'm not there yet. So I said I'm going through. I called Mike, see if I'm looking for work, and I guess I called at the most opportune time,
right,
to
bring some color in,
to come in there, right? Yeah. So I come in there and I know I get in the book The Crush, and okay, the obvious thing for me to say is not crushed it, right? But I'm not gonna do that.
But you did.
But it was.
If you guys have listen, if that's a series I can honestly tell you to go out and read because it definitely shows that Mr. Harris, it was one of the pop artists. He was bringing some great art, splash pages, fight scenes in that book. So go out and grab it. All right. Anyway, you said Clarence Avant. Go ahead.
Yeah. So I give thanks to. I never got a chance to have a head to head with him, Clarence Avant. I wish I could have, but it was a great experience for a year. The year it lasted, that I was working on The Crush at Motown Machine Works.
That's really cool. I've never even heard of Motown Machine Works.
Yeah, that's where the Crush comes from. Motown Machine Works. You see in the logo in the top left corner of the book, Motown Machine Works.
Okay, I'll definitely have to go back and pull that up. Okay, and so from Motown Machine Works, where did it go next?
Okay, after Motown Machine Works, that led me into DC Comics.
I thought so too, but anyway, I just want.
I mean, my second professional job or third professional job was with DC Comics, where I did a 10-page Fire and Ice story back in '92, which came out in DC Showcase '93. And also that same year, I did in '92. I did '93. I did a 3-part story for Dark Horse called X, and I was the first artist on X. And after that, Tim Bradstreet and maybe some other artists later on, but that was the first
Yeah.
one that appeared, that there's this, not Dark Horse Presents, but Dark Horse Comics anthology
Right.
book, and it was 3 8-page stories in 3 months that I did. Yeah. But with with After the Crush, I did a 10 page, like a 10 page, the last 10 pages of a 24 page book of Black Lightning in '95, and that led to Aztec.
And that led to Aztec.
Yeah, yeah.
Most of these things, not the Fire and Ice and Dark Horse X and Crush, did you have some say in the creation, the origin story of these characters? Because these were pretty much new characters that were being developed at that time.
No, the Fire Ice been around for a while. For a while.
Right. That's why I said not Fire and Ice. They had
Oh,
been
no,
around.
yeah,
But
yeah,
as far as X
no,
and
no,
Dark Horse,
yeah, they had a plan for the, they had a plan for that already. Now, that wasn't experienced enough or ambitious enough to do that. I mean, I was into, I mean, I have my own ideas for stuff, but I didn't think of anything to apply to X, or
Crush.
Crush. Yeah, yeah. I could have, but no, that was Mike Barron writing that, and Mike Barron's scripts are interesting because they're not written.
Mm.
They're his sketches.
Oh, wow.
Yeah, yeah. That took a while to get used to, because
Okay.
it's like, I mean, people could say, "Oh, I can make this better after they've seen something like that." I mean, it's a classic second guessing made for you,
Right.
but to me, it was kind of distracting because it was, at first it was interfering with my mind's eye,
Right.
and
Because if you read something, you kind of
yeah,
create
I can
the
visualize
image
it,
in
right?
your head. And
Yeah,
as a teacher, I tell this to kids a lot. Before you go and watch any movie, if there's something written about it that you can read it first, because then you'll build this entire image. And I remember reading some of the Harry Potter books. I had already created this whole idea of what all these characters look
yeah,
like, right? But then when I saw the movie, it completely wiped out everything that I created in my head. So I understand what you're saying.
yeah. So it was like that for me in reverse. So I think, yeah, because I'm seeing this stuff, and I'm like, all right, so I gotta re see it in my head, but I can't unsee what I saw.
Right.
But so he said he would always beg me. He would say, "Please do not follow my wretched layouts." But it's like I can't unsee
You
this.
cannot see it because,
Yeah,
right. I feel you.
yeah. But yeah,
So
so
so going into Crush and going into X at Dark Horse,
mhm.
did you have a sense of accomplishment, like I've gotten there, or did you have a sense of, okay, um, here's my next, what's the word I'm looking for? My next open door. I really got to show what I have at this point. Is that
it
how
helped
you
my,
felt?
it helped my confidence, because I mean Crush wasn't the first ongoing series I did. Before that was a series called Chromium Man for Triumph Comics.
Mm-hmm.
I did like 3 or 4 issues of that before it went under, went bankrupt. Uh, they were a small company because at first they were Personality Comics. Personality Comics was a comics company. That was my first job. I did a god awful job on that because I had to pencil and ink in 3.5 weeks.
Mm.
Too much to do that, so I said, okay, never again with that. But after doing the Crush, I felt more confident. I felt like I felt I could. It wouldn't take long for me to get a job, and it didn't. Uh, because I when I was on issue 4, I put that. I sent out I started I started putting out some samples to other editors, because I wasn't sure if this one was going to be here or not, or would I have to, if it was going to be here, would I have to do two books a month? And I said, oh, I was like prepare my mind
Right.
to 2 books a month. And I'm glad I didn't have to do that, because I was like not on a monthly schedule for Marvel, for one for DC and one for
Dark.
Machine Works. Yeah, this is been crazy, but
Right.
so Motown Machine Works went under, and as I was doing the last issue for the Crush, as I started working on Aztec. and with Aztec, fortunately, what new issues or new books would have at the time, where they would have a leeway time for you to get some books in the cans in the proverbial can.
Right.
So they'll be ahead of the schedule when when the books start coming out. And I use that time. I mean, I use that time. The writers use that time because the two writers, Mark Miller and Grant Morrison, got sick. One had strep throat, one had the stomach virus, or no strep throat or scarlet fever, something like that.
Wow.
Yeah, some old time disease.
Wow.
Yeah, middle. I was like, God damn. So, so I had to do the books out of order so I did I did the sketches for book 1, book 2, book 4, and then book 3. And so and but yeah, that because they had some scripts already done already, because they alternate scripts. That's why one was done before the other.
They
Because
do what to their scripts? I'm sorry, say that again.
They alternated scripts.
Oh, alternate. Oh, I got you. I got you.
So Mark would write one, Grant would write another one, and you could. I mean, I began to tell the difference between their writing styles.
Right.
Reading
I think this. I think this, along with their Flash run, was one of the very first team ups that Mark Millar and Grant Morrison were doing. Am I correct?
I don't know. Probably.
Okay. Did they bring you in? Or,
Miller.
say it again.
Pronounces it Miller.
Oh, Miller. Okay.
Yeah.
I always said.
So did I. So did I.
Millar, right?
Yeah, I didn't start saying Miller till like maybe 5-10 years ago.
Oh, okay, because my friends were like, Tyrone, why do you keep saying it's Millar? Because it's AR, man. But anyway, I'm glad that you corrected me with that. So yeah. Did they bring you in, or did DC pair you guys with the Aztec title?
DC pairs, in particular, Paul Kupperberg from DC Comics.
Okay. So Aztec, I don't know if people read it. You've actually signed my entire run of Aztec.
Oh, I did.
I don't know if you remember when you and I met, but we met. Oh man, it was some years ago. Was it Charlotte or was it Charlotte or Baltimore? Maybe Charlotte.
I was in Baltimore 2 times. I was in Baltimore in 2007, 2008, and then 2019.
It was Baltimore then. It was a newer thing. So that's where you signed my Aztec, and I didn't have Crush at the time. I didn't find Fringe. But you basically had the big guns at DC to play with in this book. Like, I don't think people realize Aztec was huge, because not only did it create a brand new Native American character that everybody should have in their collection, but you got to do Superman, Batman, Wonder Woman, the Justice League. How did that feel coming into DC Comics with this brand new character?
Wow. That I was just happy to have a job. And then over the course of time, I mean, with the tragedy about Aztec is that I found out it was gonna be canceled at issue 4. And still we had to I mean, I thought, and it was before this is like before the origin story, which is it happened in issue 5, before Joker in issue 7, 6, before Batman issue 7, which I really am proud of.
Yeah, your Batman was dope, man.
And issue 8 was more of an origin story. Again, going back to his home in Peru.
Yeah.
9 was Superman.
Yeah.
And 10 was the last issue.
Back to Aztec. So you thought the book was going to be canceled after issue 4?
It was going to be canceled. I found out it was going to be canceled when I was doing issue 4. I found it was going to be canceled.
Okay.
And so they canceled. It was going to run until issue 10.
Got it. And so, and it eventually ran all 10 issues. Am I right?
Yeah.
The full 10 issues. Great story. And then, did that spark you to want to do more new characters, or did that kind of whet your appetite to do more established characters in the business?
I think it kind of is. What I always wanted to do my own characters. I didn't know how to write. And I didn't learn how to write or have a format for writing, so I joined a studio in Times Square with some brothers, One's named Gray Williamson. He really gave me in addition to helping me with the bit, learn the biz more about the business of comics and how to purport myself with like contracts, especially with independent companies
Mhm.
or individuals. Whereas you'll be contracts where like with the company I was with that did Triumph Comics, that did Chromium Man, their policy was uh we'll pay you 60 days after publication.
Wow.
Yeah, yeah, and that's a I would do a book that takes a month to do, 30 days, and I go wait, not 60 days after I did the book, but 60 days after publication.
After publication. So if it didn't
Yeah,
get published right away, you still had to wait.
yeah,
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 Neil Adams was very big with, I guess, unionizing comic book creators and getting them to basically getting the companies to give them their just due, correct?
right, okay. hmm I
Yeah,
think so. I mean, I think he was a very outspoken advocate. I know that.
yeah,
So he would what Gray would tell me to do was like always ask for half up front. They can't do half. Ask for a third. If they can't do it, then just walk.
yeah, yeah.
Unless they have an established form of payment like Marvel DC does or another company.
Mhm.
But 60 days after publication, that's unethical.
Wow, yeah. What about Solar Man? That
Wow.
was a great series, man. I remember
Yeah,
issue
yeah.
one, and I was like really gung ho with it because this was the character Stan Lee and Mike Zeck created that you guys kind of repurpose. Is that it? You can tell the
No,
story.
it was I don't know about what Stanley's involvement was, but the guy when what I was working through Joe Illidge, and he was working directly. Him and another guy working directly with the owner of the property.
Okay.
But last name was Oliphant, and he at the time Marvel was very different in the 70s or 80s, and so when he had it with Marvel, he still retained ownership with other ownership of the book
Got it.
of the property.
Gotcha.
And then in the 90s, there was a two episode cartoon of Solar Man, which it was a white kid. And
Really
yeah, yeah.
interesting.
The original one was white kid, and
I know there was a cartoon.
the cartoon and there was a comic book
Right.
before the cartoon was a comic book in the 70s, I think.
Yeah, because Mike Zeck did the art for the
He
comic book.
did. Oh
If I
wow!
remember correctly, Mike Zeck did the art for the comic book.
So she was short lived. So Charles Oliphant retained ownership of the character and wanted to revamp it, wanted to make him a biracial black teen. And Joe Illidge was a co-writer and editor on the book, along with a man named Deidre Sneed. I think Sneed. They co-wrote the book. It was fun. I was supposed to be 6 issues. I did 5 or 6 covers for it. It ended up being 3. So it was what it was. It came out quarterly.
Yeah, I remember the book. I remember first issue. I remember them showing that it was still connected or talking about it was still connected to the Marvel Universe character that was created. And I do remember, man, the cover was nice. The dude's hair was nice. The costume was nice.
Yeah,
It was a really cool book, man. I have to say it was a really cool book. It
yeah.
was.
I had fun. I had fun working on it. I had fun.
Yeah.
I
So
wish it went a little further.
yeah. So would there be a possibility because now Joe Illidge just finished his shadow cabinet, and he's slated to do an interview with me. So I have Mr. N. Stephen Harrison, Joe Illidge is coming. So maybe I can broker this deal to finish Starman, right? It is
Solar Man.
Solar Man, sorry, not Starman, Solar Man. It is the era now of the independent artist and definitely the era of independent.
It's up to
Right?
it's that's out of our hands. Like I said, it's in the hands of the man Oliphant, and
Right,
he's a elder. I don't know if he's still alive right now. And he wasn't
right,
getting. I mean, when I was working with him, that was like 10 years ago.
right.
He was in his 80s,
Yeah,
he was a healthy fit 80s.
right.
Had a younger wife,
That's
but
probably why he was a healthier fit 80.
he was pretty fit. So so I mean, you never know, but I think he's moved past that. And so yeah, I think he's moved past that.
Yeah. So do you think now with the era of the independent artists and the independent Black artists and all of these creators, because I'm definitely spending far more money on my independent comic book creators, my independent Black comic book creators. Listen, I got the T-shirt right here, Black Comic Lords. This is Jay. This is Willie Corday. They put this together. Winston's
Oh,
Win. Y'all check it out. Get a T-shirt from him. Some
nice.
Black comics. Would you say this is like the era of this is the golden era of Black comics, Black indie comics, because everybody's just blazing. I mean, there's probably not a con that I go to where I'm not buying indie Black comics. And there was a time where people never did that.
Yeah, listen, man. Every era is our era.
Okay.
Is our era. I
Okay.
mean, we can't wait. We make our eras, and some pop more than the other, but every era is our era.
Right.
Because we're just that we're the shit.
Yeah, man. I agree.
Music, art, culture. I mean, we just gotta stick our chest out and say this is our era.
Yeah.
We'll see how it pops. It may pop, like I said, it may pop more than the other. Depends how the sun rises and the vibes are. But we make our era.
Right.
So I'm not gonna say this is our era, but because I gotta do what I gotta do. What people gotta do. What this is gonna be a more challenging era.
Yeah.
In the era of Trump
2.0.
2.0.
Woo. Whoa.
But
goodness.
we will make a way, and we'll take some losses, we'll take some hits, probably more so than previous times. But because he's unleashed, he's unplugged right now. So
yeah. Can any return of Watson and Holmes? Because listen,
I have my hands too.
All of this, what's going on in our current day, leads into some great stories with Watson and Holmes.
Yeah, I don't disagree. It's out of my hands. I mean, people. I don't know if you thought, but people have thought that I was a co-creator of Watson and Holmes.
I did.
Yeah, because I get the books, I promote the books, I sell the books.
Right.
You know, so and I get volume 1 because I want people saying, "Oh, I don't have volume 1." So because my stories I drew are in volume 2.
Right.
But I gotta have volume 1 so people get volume 2. Not necessarily, but I tell them you don't need it, but that can come off as a sales pitch.
Yeah.
And I say people want. I would want volume 1.
But it is also a sales pitch. You want to get your list of books that you are creating. You want to get your repertoire up there. You want people to recognize, oh, this is in Stephen Harrison. So yeah, for me, I think you're always pitching, right? I think you're always getting your information, getting your story, getting your stuff out there, right? I'm always finding artists. Like my next kid's book, it's about another one of the foster pups. I already have an artist. I already have a story written. It's already been edited once or twice. It's going through more edits. So I'm already down that path. I've already written 2 or 3 comic book stories. I'm working on a space comic book story. I'm working on a street level martial arts comic book story. So it's always going, man. So with that, what projects are you working on currently, or you will start working on that people need to know about, that people need to, when Stephen Harrison's name is on the guest list at the con, they need to come with their money and come prepared to get books signed and buy books off your table?
All right. Maybe 5 things, right?
Okay.
All right. I'm waiting on the volume 4 edition of DMC. I did a story. I did a chapter in DMC's book.
Okay.
Down Makes Comics.
Right.
The Rock and Roll Hall of Fame giant DMC of Run DMC.
Yeah, absolutely. I knew. I'm sure everybody knows who DMC is, but
I gotta make sure because sometimes
I'm glad you said it. Go ahead.
I have an issue coming out at some point for Harry Tubman Demon Slayer issue 7.
Oh, okay. Yeah.
We're waiting on one of the artists complete some his stages of work. Let's go, my man. Let's get this done. I'm talking to
That's right. Listen, we love ourselves some Harriet Tubman Demon Slayer, man. I got all the books. I got him signed. The dude is he's doing some great stuff.
Yeah, I don't want to mention the artist who's lagging behind, but I love his work.
Okay. He's got the creator of Harriet Tubman has another project coming out as well.
Oh yeah. I think that's Assassin.
Yes, exactly.
Yeah.
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 So I got a title coming out. Um, that is a graphic novel of a UK hip hop artist. I think I cannot mention any more than that.
Okay, we'll leave it at that because I do
That's
not want to, I believe
that's
me, I want to break it first, but I totally
yeah.
understand.
Uh, and right now I'm working on Epiphany Engine.
Yes, man.
Yeah.
Listen. Woo. So uh the last few interviews that I've dealt with that I they had something to do with Epiphany Engine or covers or something. Yeah, man, Epiphany Engine. We just got, for everybody out there, check your email. We just got like 2 new updates saying it's coming. They're still working on it. They're adding stuff. So
Yeah.
yeah, I totally get it.
And shout out to he's no longer part of the project, but Greg Anderson Elise, creator,
Yes, yes.
we're
Yeah.
inspired by his contribution to that effort. He's no longer part of the project, but his contribution is not is not going unnoticed for me.
Yeah, I believe I put up in my last interview with Sean Hill, we talked about Epiphany Engine that you said you were watching, and we talked about Epiphany Engine, and he mentioned him as well.
Oh, good, good, good. I get to finish seeing the interview, but it was I mean I always want to hear what my man Sean's up to. And I've been at the convention. I don't know if you're familiar with the books I've had at the conventions in the last couple of years. I've been bringing these books called published by True Fiction. True Fiction is a company run by a brother who is an educator and as well as a veteran. He contacted me 6 years ago, 2019, and he does these educational books that feature actual historical events with fictional characters.
Mm.
First one I did was Jude's War, which involved a young man coming back from World War II,
Hmm.
dealing with PTSD, the beginnings of the Civil Rights Movement, and the Jim Crow South.
Right.
And so that was the first one I did. And the second one I did was Cecil's brother, which takes place during the anti-lynching movement. And you have this black woman who passes for white, working with the NAACP, going into white neighborhoods, getting lynching paraphernalia from white families.
Wow.
And lynching paraphernalia may sound very is a very um, light term for like what lynching paraphernalia is. What lynching paraphernalia is or could be, it could be body parts as well as pictures,
Yeah.
body parts of the dead person they lynched,
Yeah.
as well as pictures of the scene. And so she's going into the grim task of finding these like trinkets,
Yeah.
the keepsakes.
It could be the noose. It could be family pictures. It could be the family having a picnic with
Yeah,
human
it
being
could,
sitting right there. It could be, when the knife that cut the body open or cut body parts off.
it
Yeah,
could be
man.
a body part, it could be a finger, it could
Yeah.
be genital.
And this is all through true fiction. And these are graphic novels.
No, these are floppy comic books, like little short 10-page stories.
Oh, got it. Short 10-page stories.
And
Got it.
I did the third one called Edward and Louise's Journey, which depicts uh, the the journey from the first Great Migration. The
Got it.
first Great Migration from there were several migrations within the first Great Migration. It was one from there was a migration from the Carolinas to the north. There was
Right.
from the south to the west. This one was from Alabama to Chicago.
Right. So if you go on to YouTube and PBS's channel, they have 3 or 4 um, documentaries that's done by Dr. Gates about the Great Migration from the South to the North. Really, really good stuff, man.
Yeah. Okay, great. That's good. That's good to know.
Really, like I posted them. You'll see them on my page. Really good stories. I mean, not only did it's Dr. Gates, so he always goes above and beyond to put his stuff out there, but specifically talks about that migration from the South to the North and the complications and the issues that people had when they got to the North, thinking it was going to be one way, right?
Mm-hmm. Yeah.
And then I ended up watching the movie The Piano with Samuel Jackson. Is that what it's called?
Is it August Wilson? Is it based on August Wilson?
Yes, yes.
The piano lesson.
Say it again. The piano lesson.
Piano lesson.
Say it again.
The piano lesson.
Yeah, so that also talked about the Great Migration as well, because within that, the one of the brother, he was migrating from the south to the north because he saw his greener pastures. That's really good. So yeah,
Yeah.
the piano lesson
And,
was really good.
yeah, and in that book, and these like 10-page books, so he packs a lot of information in these books. Not a lot of, I don't say it's a whole lot of panels per page, but still, there's a
Right,
lot of information in these books,
right.
just the storytelling I'm doing, or that is being done, or the stories I've drawn. So it goes from why they left the South, their journey to the North, and what's that like in a segregated car.
Yeah.
Now, I didn't know what a segregated car looked like. A segregated car is not only the car right behind the engine train, so you get all the smoke and the soot,
Hmm.
but it's also in there is they have to sit with their own luggage, and they're in there with livestock too.
Yes. Yes.
And I'm like, oh my god! So I do that. So I did those. I did the World War II one back in 2019. I
Okay.
did those 2 years ago, and I'm doing a fourth one right now.
Can you say what that one's about or not yet?
I don't think I should.
Okay. Not a problem. Not a problem. So listen, so when you guys are out and we'll definitely get, keep up with you when you're going to different cons, please make sure you guys are picking up these books. As you can see, it's not just Mr. Harris, it's Mr. Harris plus more creators and more writers and more publishers and more people. Please make sure you are patronizing our Black comic lords, our Black comic creators. Please make sure you're going out doing that stuff. Any talks of going back or doing anything for Marvel, Valiant, DC, any projects looming, any covers type things like that?
Not right now. Not right now. Listen, there's a whole discussion of page rates going on right now on social media.
Right.
Uh, I'm doing better with these page rates than I've done with Marvel and DC. So
Wow.
it's like I get more time. I do better work,
Right.
and so if I go to Marvel and DC, it'll be it'll be different.
Yeah.
I mean, I haven't done anything from last time I did something for Marvel was like 2000.
Yeah.
The last time I did something for DC, last time I did something for DC wasn't full pencils. It was it was like some layouts for a a uh what's the name the woman with Harley Quinn
Harley Quinn.
and Poison Ivy.
Okay.
And I did before that was Static. Before that, I did half of that book, maybe less than half of that book, and I did all the breakdowns or layouts for Static Up All Night. That was finished, or did the pencils were by I forgot, I'm blanking his name, young brother, uh, Paris Elaine,
Got it.
yeah, and written by Lamar Giles.
Okay. And so your Harley and Ivy book, that was
I don't
just,
know I don't know when that came out. If it came out.
oh, you don't even know if it came out.
Yeah, I don't know.
I got you. All
Yeah.
right. So that leads into an even a really good question with the page rate. Page rates are going up. Clearly, we understand. A lot of people are completely against AI. I am one. I want to get the original traditional pencil and ink artist and the page in my hand and be able to touch it and smell it and all that as much as I can.
Yes.
Um, are you still able to connect with people who aren't able to, like people you have, I'm sure you get people who have ideas all the time. Are you able to work out deals and plans with them to keep the money flowing in for you, or is it like it's got to be this way and that's got to be it?
So no, I always negotiate, but no, I won't go below a certain level because rent's high in New York.
Exactly. Listen, the rent is too damn high.
Exactly. Yeah. So you know, uh, yeah. So it's like I tell them what it is, and I said I rate for this, I rate for that, and what can we and are you good with that? If you're not, how what can we work? How can we make this work? If we can't make it work, then we can't make it work.
Right.
You know, and then there's all the other details. There's all the other details involved with that because in between that too, because the artist does not want their work to be used over and over again, and the person who's using it is getting paid for it, and the artist not getting paid for it too.
Right.
When you want to make sure this is for one-time usage. If you use it again, you got to pay me a certain rate.
Right.
And with Marvel and DC, they use it, to the
80 billion
infinitum,
times.
and you get nothing for it.
Right.
Now, I was fortunate enough to get some money for the first Deadpool movie because I had something to do with that, and meaning, and I had something to do with that in the sense that I did the Deadpool annual in '98, which told of Deadpool's origin story. That was written by Joe Kelly,
Right.
and so I got some money from that. I forgot about. I wasn't even thinking about that, but yeah, but and if Aztec is made to a movie, I'll get some money for that. But there has to be certain stipulations for that too.
Right.
But Aztec was in the cartoon, but I didn't get any money for that because Aztec was the main character.
Right. Gotcha.
And other stipulations go with that too.
Right.
But I got money for Aztec the toy, and I still get a royalty check every now and then for work. And I thought this stuff was out of print, but maybe not overseas. So I get money from stuff from overseas. It's not a lot.
Right.
It's nice when it comes up every now and then.
Listen, I'm not a toy collector, but you can best believe I'm gonna try to find that Aztec toy.
Okay.
Listen, I'm almost certain that Aztec is also still being printed. I don't think it's not being printed. I think we're just waiting for an Aztec omnibus.
There's a trade
Aztec,
that's out. There was an Aztec trade. That was back in 2008.
Yeah, no, we need a hardcover. So if you had your choice of a dream project, doesn't matter if it's Marvel, DC, Image, Dark Horse, Aspen, doesn't matter. Dream project, it could be 1, 2, or 3. It doesn't really matter. What would be those dream projects that says, let me show y'all who y'all dealing with?
Oh, okay. Wow. Okay. Goodness gracious, man. That's so much pressure. I mean, it's so much.
Yeah.
I would like to draw some Star Wars.
Who wouldn't?
And in that Star Wars, please let me draw some X-Wing and Y-Wing fighters.
Yeah.
I want to draw an X-Wing fighter. I love me some X-Wing fighters.
Right.
I would like to draw. Now, Daredevil is not my favorite character, but I would like to draw a Daredevil story.
Okay.
Because it goes back to John Romita Jr.'s run on Daredevil. And there's some reason he made me want to draw Daredevil. Going back to his run. And of course, one of my books, The Fringe. I mean, give me some money to put Fringe out.
Mm-hmm. So are you thinking with Fringe? Because I was going to go back to that. With Fringe, you said you want to do it more. Are you thinking of doing a Kickstarter, GoFundMe, or are you thinking of drawing the pages, getting it done, paying for it, and okay, here we go. We got issue 1. We're going to give it to you in the variant black and white edition. Everybody buy it. That helps you with a color edition. I mean, that's in my mind, right? I'm always thinking of stories. I'm thinking, okay, how can I get what I have out right now to make more money to get the next thing out? And so could Fringe be in black and white at first and then later on in color? What's your thinking of getting Fringe moving?
Hold that thought. I got to run for a second. I'll be right back.
Okay, I want to see this, man. I want to see this. So I want to be clear. I talked to you guys about this t-shirt. Please make sure you go out, pick up this t-shirt. You can hit up Winston's Wham, Jay. You can hit him up on Facebook. You can also hit up Willie Corday. He has it. You can contact anybody at Black Comic Lords to get yourself a nice t-shirt. This thing is bussin'. I really like it. It's got a ton of amazing rare and important comic books from throughout the ages on it. Y'all got to pick this thing up. It's really cool. Definitely pick this thing up. So now I'm really interested in what he's going to get, what he's getting when he comes back. I wonder if he's coming back with some Fringe art. So let's cross our fingers. Maybe he'll come back with some Fringe art.
Let me tell you something about the creative process. It's frustrating.
Man, boy, do I know.
It's time consuming. It's time consuming. And I need to carve out time to do this. And it's hard for me to carve out time to do this while doing other projects. The most opportune time I had to really work on it was when I was doing storyboards for TV commercials. Because those are quick, they pay a lot of money, and there's time between jobs. And a job, I could do a big job over a weekend or 3 or 4 days, have that money stretched for about a couple months,
Wow.
and just work on work on Fringe. That's when most of the Fringe came out.
Right.
And so with comic books is all consuming. And when I've done 2 projects at a time, it's like they've been spaced apart. They've had, I call them liberal deadlines, not non-existent deadlines, but I've had leeway. So I gotta find a way. But even if I did take time to do a project, the more time I take to do a project, the less money it's worth. So I still need to get that job done in a reasonable amount of time to make that money work for me.
Right.
Well, I can't just do that job, take off 2-3 weeks to the Fringe and get back on the job, unless the money's gonna carry me like that. But it's like I gotta figure that out. So, but I have a drawing of a sketch of this of some French characters.
That's what I was hoping you was going to bring out. That's what I was hoping you were going to bring out, some art. When you started talking about something else, I was like, oh, maybe I had to go answer the door or something. Yeah, no, let's see what you have, because I think right now, man, bringing out another issue of Fringe, not only would it go really, really well, but I think it would start getting people back on that train. Because I think people are buying the indie comics. They're buying Black indie comics.
Yeah, I gotta get. Yeah, I mean,
they're doing it, man. So if I need to encourage you to keep moving a little bit each day, keep moving, man. Keep moving.
Yeah, this is from my man Rod Risbrook.
Look at that.
Okay.
Yeah, look at that. So who are the characters on the page?
The characters are okay. This is the main character right here. This is the woman in my game, my pitch. This is the focus was.
Got it.
And this is her team of baddies that will cause havoc throughout, for the Fringe Revolution.
Gotcha.
Yeah.
Okay. So
this one has the backstory right here.
Got it.
But I can't tell that. That's oh goodness.
Move it to your left a little bit. There you go. Right. There you go. Like you just move it a whole across your body. That would get a better. Perfect.
Yeah. So,
let me tell you something, man. When you got up to pull that out, your face lit up. And I was like, okay, you really have to go back and get this thing moving, man.
You know what? Do I have time to show you some headshots I did of
No, man. Bring in the headshots, baby. Let's get this thing moving.
I gotta make sure. 5 years ago, I was doing a 24-hour marathon of doing a full comic.
Okay.
I decided to do some French story, and yes, I do a French story, or at least started, and a tales, like a origin, not or like a flashback story.
Right. So like a Fringe 1/2 or a Fringe 0 issue.
Something like that, yeah.
Let's make it happen, baby. Let's make it happen.
Of the elders when they were younger.
Right.
Fighting off the invasion. And so I kind of did something like that, and then I did some storytelling pages for that, but they're in sketch form.
Yeah, there you go. That's clear.
Okay, so is that?
And these are the characters from Fringe when they
these
were.
These the elders when they were younger.
They were when they were younger.
And this is their elder.
Okay.
Okay. And okay. And here is some other members. These are part of these characters are part of a flashback, so they're not. One of them is a prominent member, a prominent character in the later story, but most of these is like people in the flashbacks.
I can tell you, man, it sounds like you have an issue 0 or issue 1/2 already ready to go.
Yeah, something like that. Yeah, I mean, listen, 2 books have been put out, 2 issues have been put out, and they were in the what I call the graphic novel under construction. You probably have that one with the white cover.
I do not. So Fringe is one that I have not found. So I'm actually going to be on the hunt for those books. Mr. Harris, I appreciate you spending this time with us, having this show, man. This has really been very informative. And I think, and I hope everybody out there in YouTube land and in our comic book community, I hope you guys got a lot of good information. There were some really good stories. I didn't know anything about the Motown thing. That's really cool. The pre-milestone information, absolutely wonderful to have. And I want to keep giving the community this type of background and background knowledge about all of these amazing artists and creators in our community that are just creating great things. Everybody needs to go out and find, you guys need to go find Crush. You need to go find all the issues for Mr. Harris. And then when you see him at conventions, make sure you go to his table, have him to sign it, get some of his true fiction books as well. Those things sound to be very interesting. As a teacher myself, I definitely would love to get some of those and read them. But
true fiction spelled with a K, Fiktion.
Say it one more time.
True fiction is true fiction. Fiction is spelled with a K, Fiktion. True fiction.
Got it. Gotcha. So on the way out, we appreciate you guys taking the time, spending this time with us, going through this interview with Mr. Harris. We appreciate you liking, sharing, subscribing this. Again, Mr. Harris, you have any conventions you were scheduled to appear at soon, so everybody know where to look for you?
Yeah, I should be at there's Phillipsburg in New Jersey, or P-Burg Con. Then there is maybe I should be at ECBAC. That's before or after then. I'm not sure which comes first.
Which one? What is that one called?
ECBAC, East Coast Black Age Comics Convention this is probably its 23rd year right now.
East Coast Black Comic Book Convention.
East Coast Black Age Comics Convention in Philadelphia, New Jersey. Philadelphia, Pennsylvania.
Okay.
That is at Temple University.
Oh, okay.
Yeah. Then
I was just there. That was one of the spots my daughter was thinking about colleges she was thinking about going.
Okay.
I was just in Temple, yeah.
Nice. And then Atlantic Con in August in Norfolk, Virginia.
Yeah, that's in my area. I saw your name on the list. I teach at a school in Norfolk.
Okay. Were you there? Were you at the convention last year?
I was not, man. I was not there because we had a family issue. We ended up traveling during that time. So I'm trying to get to it this year. But yeah, that's my goal. But man, listen, I appreciate you. We cannot wait to see this next, whether it's a 0 or 1/2 or whatever origin story of Fringe. We cannot wait for this to come out. Keep uploading stories, man. So that'll keep us on the hook, hoping that we'll get Fringe coming out soon. And to everybody out there, thank you guys again for joining us. Please remember, I have to always say this, please go pick up Daddy Do Right. This is the perfect book for Father's Day, which is coming up. My signing at Barnes & Noble will be in June, the week or so before Father's Day. You can also get it on their website and everybody's website. So thank you guys for joining us here. This is the Comic Book Hit List. Let's remember, in today's climate, let's keep truth, historical facts moving forward. Don't be fooled. Make sure you go below the surface to do some research and to learn what's all happening. And let's keep striving and being one united front, because we the people, we outnumber those oligarchs and those billionaires, and they need us to make all their money. So remember that. All the love we can give you guys out. Mr. Stephen Harrison, thank you again for joining me, and I appreciate this time. Those of you out there in the community, in comic book land and Facebook land and YouTube land and all the other lands out there, thank you guys for joining us, and we appreciate you. And on the way out, like always, peace.
Peace, everybody. Thank you, and I appreciate your patience for having this come together with us, because it was a challenge for a couple of weeks.
Yeah, I know.
All right, take care, man.
You too.
What's up, world? It's your boy Ty. Did you listen to the CD? I'm gonna pay homage to all the men.